Krysan over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Ronnie Rantz here in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame studio. And, of course, Sports Church Daily presented by LaBerge Casino. On today's show, we talk about dudes who play girls' sports. Is it coming to Division I Power 5? Dudes that identify as women. We'll talk about that. Also, Alex Alcala, the 15-year-old who signed with the Los Angeles Galaxy. Not the first preteen to sign in professional Major League Soccer. We'll tell you if that's a trend and if that's a good thing. We're seeing it in sports all throughout. LSU Baseball starts on Saturday now, not Friday. We'll get into that. And LSU Hoops. The game is canceled, and how that impacts LSU's season. We'll get into that. And finally, Fernando Tatis. The guy hasn't even played a full season in the major leagues, and he's now the third highest paid player in Major League Baseball. Record contract. Tommy Krysan and Ronnie Rantz next. Sports Shorts. Don't go anywhere. TK, good morning to you, sir.
Do what?
TK, good morning to you. I know it's loud.
Hey, good morning to you. Okay, you kind of you did a little buffering thing on me there. It's still cold, Ronnie. I'm really cold.
TK, this topic I wanted to get into yesterday, we kind of ran out of time a little bit. I sent you this article, and I mean, it's gotten reaction all over social media. I mentioned it yesterday. We have not had a player yet in the Division I, in the Power 5, in the SEC, the Big 12. We haven't had anybody, even in the Southland Conference or anything like that. We haven't had anybody yet break this barrier of dudes who identify as girls playing collegiate sports. But we're seeing it at the junior college level. We're seeing it at the Division II, III level. We're seeing it at the smaller levels, Tommy. There's a story that came out that's kind of all over social media right now, and that is at Santa Clara College. There's a former naval officer who is 6'8", 300 pounds or whatever he is, 200-something pounds, that's playing basketball. That's a 50-year-old dude. That's only 10 years younger than you, Tommy. What's your reaction to what's going on right now with that?
Well, Ronnie, I looked at that. You gave me that homework assignment last night, and I checked it out. And look, I know people have different political views, and people don't always agree with each other. And I mean, I got good friends that I don't agree with. But how anybody can think it's okay for that guy to be playing girls basketball, I just can't understand that. I can't comprehend that. Again, to each his own. And not everybody thinks the way I do, vice versa. But how anybody can think that's okay is just something that I can't understand. And here's the unintended consequence. It's going to ruin women's sports, okay? I mean, because now if men start playing all the women's sports, what is women's sports going to do? They don't have the same physical ability as men. That's a fact. So it's really going to mess up women's sports. And, again, I don't know how anybody can say that they're okay with that.
Let me ask you this, TK: if you were a parent and you had your daughter was playing basketball, and all of a sudden she comes home and says at 19 years old and says, Mom, Dad, I've got a 50-year-old teammate. Dad, you served with him in the Navy. You know him. His name's Chuck, but now he calls himself Stacy. I don't know that I would want my daughter or son if it was the other way around. Like, I don't know that I'd want that environment and that situation, because now it's a circus show. It's not a normal sports experience.
I think everybody'd be opting out if it was up to me. I mean, again, if my daughter came home and said, we got this 50-year-old Navy veteran guy who's now playing on our team, I mean, my reaction is I'd say, well, you're not on this team anymore. If they're going to allow that, we're going to find you another place to play. Again, that's my opinion. I mean, somebody else might say, oh, that's the way it goes. But I just can't comprehend that. And I think, again, the big picture, it's going to ruin women's sports.
Well, It's going to take a lot of brave. I mean, it's not like there's going to be this mass group of people that come in. It's going to obviously take some brave souls that can deal with the chiding and the comments and all that. But the thing is, it's and let's go back to the physical story of it, Tommy. There's an unfair advantage. Men are bigger, stronger than girls. 99% of the time. I mean, heck, the LSU women's basketball team, even in its heyday with Simone Augustus and Sylvia Fowles, when they were going to 4 straight Final Fours or whatever it was, they would practice against dudes that were like literally pickup guys from the rec center. That they throw 5 guys on a team because that would help them scrimmage against a bigger, stronger opponent than their own, girl teammates. So there's a physical advantage that men are going to have, whether they identify as a woman or not. And if you start allowing this which the Pandora's box is open, I'm just waiting. It's just a matter of time for me that we see somebody cross into the SEC threshold or cross into the Southland Conference threshold. Right now, it's at the lower levels, and it's not getting as much attention. Every once in a while, Facebook posts. But there was a track athlete in New England, Tommy, that I think it was NAIA, Division III, that was winning all kind of races because there was a guy who identified as a girl, and he's out there winning all this stuff. I mean, it's at some point the political correctness has to get put on the side, and we have to go, this just isn't right.
No, it's not, because Ron, if you look across the board in sports, in basketball, the ball for the ladies is a little bit smaller because their hands, female hands, right, typically aren't as big as male hands. Golf, they play from a shorter, tee. They can't hit the ball as far. 99% of the women can't. There are a few that can lay it out there. I mean, you got softball versus baseball. I mean, you got some differences in some of those sports that are there because of the anatomical differences between a male and a female. Again, I don't know how anybody can think what's going on in California or the track guy up in the Northeast or anywhere else. But you're right, Ronnie. I'm curious to see what's going to happen when somebody rolls into LSU or into Ole Miss. Some guy says he wants to play girls basketball, and he's, it's going to ruin women's sports. That's what's going to happen.
Well, the one thing we're not going to see is women crossing over into Major League Baseball, and it's not going to go that way. But Fernando Tatis just shocked everybody. It shocked me when I read it that he signed a contract for 14 years, over $300 million, Tommy, guaranteed. And the thing about it is, look, Fernando Tatis last year was incredible, right? What he did in that shortened year. The Padres were the hot story of Major League Baseball. They're now relevant again. Love the throwback unis, all that. Okay. There's no body of work here. He hasn't shown that he can handle success beyond less than, you pointed out to me, 140 something games this guy's played in his career. And now they're putting a $300+ million contract on him. This has got to make the old timers' heads start to spin.
Well, it really does. I mean, he's got a huge upside. He's an incredible player. He's one of the marquee names in Major League Baseball. Interesting to see how he responds now with the magnifying glass on him, the target on his back, if you will. Because if he comes out the gate and goes 1 for 12 or something like that, they're wasting all this money. A lot of pressure on the guy, but you know what? His dad was a Major League player for a long time. I would think he's ready for it. And he is a great baseball player. There's no question. And, the Padres-Dodgers series, they don't like each other anyway. Now that they both spent so much money, those are going to be interesting to watch and interesting to see. And it's making some intrigue about baseball that kind of has waned a little bit in the last couple of years. It boggles my mind, but you're only worth what somebody will pay you. It's like my Led Zeppelin ticket yesterday. You give me $100 for it, it's worth $100. If somebody wants to give me $500, then it's worth $500. Well, Tatis is obviously worth over $300 million to the Padres.
The thing about Major League Baseball, man, is versus football, is that the contracts, once you get to a certain point, the contracts are guaranteed. Now, it's such a small percentage, that of people that walk the planet that can get to that big contract. But Fernando Tatis, whose dad was a Major League Baseball player, played double-digit years in the major leagues, mostly with the Cardinals over his best years. The biggest contract his dad, who was a very good player, ever signed was 4 years, $14 million. His dad only made it roughly $18-19 million in his career. He's from the Dominican Republic. For Tatis signed as a young man. This is just, it's a lot of. I don't know if there's a lot of people that walk the planet, Tommy, that can handle being given $300 million and say, okay, now go earn it for the next 14 years. Play like you don't have the contract yet. Play like you're hungry. To me, there's just human nature is just, okay, now I can relax.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see if that happens. I mean, you would think he wouldn't get complacent. He wants the Padres to win a World Series. He wants to be an all-star. He wants to lead the league in different categories. Now the question will be, can he go out there and do it? The game of baseball is changing a lot this year. Talking about 6-man rotations, pitching staffs, the openers, talking about piggybacking starters, let somebody go 3 innings, let another starter go the next 3 innings. There's going to be a lot of differences in baseball, all aimed at trying to get batters out when you really think about it and not trying to wear pitchers out. Well, Tatis is going to be the centerpiece, him and Trout and Mookie Betts. But Trout and Betts have proved themselves over time. That's the part Tatis hasn't done yet.
Yeah, look, Alex Bregman, we thought the Alex Bregman contract was a big deal when he signed that $100 million deal. Yeah, and Alex Bregman's got to be thinking, maybe I jumped on a little too soon. And look, Alex Bregman had a body of work when he did it, right? I mean, he'd won a World Series, and he had done it for a couple of years, where Fernando Tatis, we just have a small sample size, less than 100, less than a full season's worth of work. The guy only made his major league debut in 2019. So granted, he's a superstar, and they believe he's going to be a superstar, but, these mega contracts like this, Tommy, rarely work out. The Alex Rodriguez contract, the CC Sabathia, the Albert Pujols, they don't usually work out. At some point, they work out the first 5 years maybe, but then those last 5 or so, this is 14. This guy is going to be 38 years old or something like that when this contract's up.
Well, 14 years, I mean, I guess that's just for salary, for stretching out the purposes. But what's funny? The whole Bobby Bonilla story, right? The Mets, have to give him $1 million something dollars.
Right. He deferred.
When this contract ends, Bonilla still gets another check. That's how ridiculous Steve Phillips did that contract. I heard him on satellite radio this morning on the MLB radio network. So, Bonilla is going to get a check after Tatis does. But 14 years, I mean, the odds of him playing 14 years, that's just window dressing. I would bet right now he's not going to play 14 years for the San Diego Padres. But I'm ready to watch it this year, see what he can do. I'm curious.
Were you ever a Padres fan at any point in your life with the Tony Gwynn days, or was that ever your team? Or
yeah,
did you ever
I met Randy Jones. Remember the left-hander won a Cy Young?
Mm-hmm.
I met him at a youth sports convention, hung out in the booth with him for a little while years ago, and he was really cool and a nice guy. Wasn't a big guy at all. A left-hand pitcher. I'm like, hey, so was I, but not as good as you. So I've kind of been a Padre fan. Of course, who's not a fan of Tony Gwynn? It's kind of been a little bit in the background, but I'm a Rangers and Cardinals guy. I've been that for years. I like the Rangers. They're not going to be any good. The Cardinals should win their division this year. But Padres, hey, we'll see. I'm a fan now because I'm a fan of baseball. I want to see Machado and Tatis, and, they've loaded up the pitching staff. And, of course, we got Austin Nola, a Padre. So there's lots of reasons to be a Padre fan.
I'm not, because they broke my heart, Tommy. When I was 12 years old, I was a Cubs fan. In 1984, the Cubs made it to the playoffs. Leon the Bull Durham, right between the legs, pulled a Bill Buckner before Bill Buckner, and then in the Padres and Steve Garvey. Remember, Steve Garvey was playing for the Padres back then. They knocked off Rick Sutcliffe and my Cubs, and so that always stung me. And then I spent 1 year in the Padres organization. I'll tell you how cheap they were, Tommy, back in the day. They didn't spend $340 million on the whole franchise and everything combined back in the mid-'90s. Spring training, we in 1994, I believe it was, spring training, Tommy, the Padres and the Seattle Mariners shared the same complex. It was literally this brand new complex in Peoria, suburb of Phoenix, where half of it was Padres and half of it was Seattle. It was this big building in the middle, and there was kind of like, the left side was the Padres, the right side was Seattle, and then all the fields on those sides, and then they shared a common stadium, a big stadium for the major league games. And when we had lunch break, so we'd get there, practice from 8 to 11 or whatever it was, we'd practice till midday, and then it's time to take a break for lunch, and then you usually change into a uniform, and then you have a scrimmage or a game or something that afternoon. Well, for the minor leaguers, we're talking about major, A, double A, triple A, rookie ball. They bring in extra people during the minors because, of course, they're cutting down. So we're talking about 100+ guys, right? 150 guys possibly, and in training camp. They fed us for lunch. We would walk up. It just looked like a USSSA type concession stand type deal, right? You walk up to this concession stand, except it's not open. The roll doors are down. And then on the counter, Tommy, was 2 big canisters of chicken noodle soup. Okay, so they had the plastic spoons, the little cups, and they had the ladle in there. That was chicken noodle soup. And then next to it was a giant jar of peanut butter, a giant jar of jelly, and bunny bread, right? And the plastic, and you can make yourself peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and chicken noodle soup. And that's what we had for lunch in a professional baseball for 3 weeks of training camp, thanks to the Padres in 1994. So you know what, Tommy? The Padres can go right there. I mean, they saved all that money to give Fernando Tatis this contract.
Yeah, they made you eat peanut butter and jelly so they could pay Machado and Tatis. All right, that's one of the changes in the world,
Yeah. Hey, please like and share this show, Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBear's Casino. Go on there, like and share. That's as if you're buying a subscription. It helps us out. TK, some story that's going on. I just want to get your reaction because in general, sports is getting younger. Everything is trending younger. We're seeing more and more players committing to college at 8th and 9th grade. This is now not the first player from MLS. This is a Mexican soccer player from the Los Angeles Galaxy. They call him Alcala. I love soccer when you have one name. But Alcala, a 15-year-old, signed a professional contract with the Galaxy. My question is this. In sports in general, aren't we growing up too fast? Aren't we not enjoying it enough? Now it's a business. Kid's 15 years old. He can't even drive yet. And now it's a business.
Well, sports is definitely getting younger and growing up too fast. I mean, when you look across all sports, okay, I mean, it's just what has happened. I mean, 25 years ago, the thought of a rookie quarterback in the NFL just didn't exist. I mean, hey, hold that clipboard. You're going to learn from this guy for 2-3 years. Then we might put you in if we're up 40-0. It's just different now because everybody wants to win. We live in an immediate world due to our cell phones, okay, our smartphones, the internet. We all want instant. When I send you a text, I'm like, why didn't Ronnie answer me? It's been 3 minutes, Whereas,
right.
Years ago, you got the busy signal, what did we do back then? So, I just think we live in this immediate world. Everybody wants something right now. Not everybody can win the World Series or the NBA title or the Super Bowl, but everybody thinks they can. And, it has blurred the sanity in sports. Like with the 15-year-old, he's got to get a ride or take an Uber to get to the facility or to get to the game, and then he can't go out partying with the guys after the game. I mean, it's just, hey, I'm old school, and I've learned to kind of just put up with all the stuff that's going on. Like last night, I watched an MLB Network. They showing all these bat flips, and I'm thinking, being a former pitcher, I'm like, I think from now on, when a pitcher strikes out a batter, he ought to toss his hat, like, hey, I got you, and do a hat flip. Okay, Ronnie, I want to start the hat flip for pitchers when you strike a guy out. Because if they hit a bomb and they can bat flip, I strike them out. I want a hat flip. Okay, and then I'll put my hat back on, and I'll throw to the next guy. What do you think? Let's start the hat flip.
My old pitcher instinct, when I see a guy flip his bat and do all that, pimping the homer and all, my first instinct is to drill him upside the head. But I know that's not the way it is anymore. That was the way it used to be. But that said, Tommy, guys change so much between the time they're 14 years old and the time that they're in college. I remember when growing up, there was a pitcher There was a young man out of Bossier City that at 14 years old, all of us 13, 14-year-old baseball players in the state were talking about. I mean, this guy was, amazing. Every week striking out 15, every week a no-hitter. And this was before internet and social media and all that. So for it to trickle around the state was a big deal.
Right.
By the time he got to be 19 years old, Tommy, he was playing JUCO baseball and never did anything more than that. He didn't grow anymore. He kind of peaked out at 14. His arm got hurt, whatever the case may be. And so my point is that, we don't know what the future is going to bring. LSU, I mean, they baseball, they have, I can name a couple of kids and that just in the last 6-7 years, LSU got commitments from when they were freshmen, sophomores in high school. They never even made it to LSU by the time they got to the college level. They got shipped off somewhere else because they didn't grow anymore. Their talents didn't project by the time they got to senior year. So then they kind of fizzled and went someplace else. I just don't. But at the same time, that all 4 years that player was in high school, Tommy, the opponents, the fans, everybody, oh, this is the LSU kid. This is the LSU kid. So there was the pressure on him. There was the hazing. There was he wasn't able to just enjoy it and enjoy being with your teammates in high school. Everything was about LSU or the next level.
Well, it's all about keeping up with each other. If McNeese offers a kid, then Southeastern's got to offer him in 8th grade. LSU, Texas A&M, whatever. You make all the comparisons. I mean, everybody got to keep up with the Joneses. It's an arms race. With we've seen facilities. Look the SEC baseball facilities, Ronnie, are just remarkable compared to what they were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's because, as soon as that one built, then, South Carolina, I think, went first, then LSU, now Arkansas. I mean, you've been to all the facilities. I mean, they're better than most minor league parks, and it's college baseball. Well, then that trickles right into offering these kids, hey, I got a great kid down in Houma. Okay, we got to offer him. We got to offer a kid in Covington. We got to offer him now, because somebody else is going to get him. But you're right, Ryan. It puts so much pressure on that kid, and then he doesn't truly enjoy his high school baseball experience or the soccer thing for the kid out west or whatever. But but again, I'm old school. I don't like it, but it's the landscape of what we deal with now in the world of sports. And, I got 3 grandsons, and I don't know, they all play baseball now. I don't know how long they'll play baseball. Who knows? But, it's going to be different when they do get to that level, if they're able to play, than it was for you and me and hundreds of our friends.
So some news and notes. LSU basketball, that game canceled. It was supposed to be today against Ole Miss. They canceled it yesterday due to travel issues and all that. This was a game that LSU probably would have won. They beat Ole Miss already. It's always tough to beat a team twice. But losing this game, Tommy, does this affect their NCAA positively or negatively, or is it not a big deal?
I think it's going to affect. I mean, it's technically postponed. They're going to try to play it at some point. But basketball, you can't play every day. You can play, 4 days in a row if you have to. We see that in the postseason tournaments and stuff. So, I mean, they're just going to have to see. But, you can only control what you can control. LSU got Auburn coming into the PMAC on Saturday. They got to take care of business. And if this Ole Miss game gets rescheduled, maybe it gets rescheduled in Baton Rouge instead of going back to Oxford, for 2 times in 5 weeks. So, it's like I was telling you yesterday, Ronnie, Bill Franquez sent out the baseball schedule change from LSU, and Damon Sunday sent me the one from Southeastern. Those little billboards they made, those little graphics, they're going to use the heck out of them this year because it's going to be schedule change after schedule change. But LSU basketball, they can't control the fact that they're not playing Ole Miss today. As of right now, they're going to play Auburn Saturday, although we're supposed to have some bone-chilling cold weather on Friday night. I guess Auburn may come in the morning before, and then they will try to get that game in. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see, on that. But LSU basketball, the effect on the NCAA tournament, anytime you don't play a game that you think you would have won, it might have an effect. But you can't dwell on that. You can't be thinking about that, or Auburn will come in here and beat your ass.
Saturday, LSU baseball plays. Friday got moved to Saturday. So LSU's debut will be 1 o'clock Saturday against Air Force. And then a 5 o'clock game that day is going to be Notre Dame and Louisiana Tech. Unfortunately, all the other games, the Air Force, Tech, Notre Dame games not involved in LSU aren't going to be open to the public. I hate to see that.
No,
Plus, I don't know. I don't know if it's
a have limited capacity
COVID thing. They just don't want to. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess ultra cautious. I don't know.
Well,
kind of disappointed.
You know what those teams are going to experience, Ronnie? They're going to experience worse than I had when we played in front of 63 people at Southeastern back in the day. They're not even going to have 63.
That's right. They're not. But they will get a chance to play at the box. And by the way, the Saturday game with no fans, I'll be on the PA. So nobody will know. But by the way, I'm going to be doing the PA for the LSU game, their debut on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Bill Franquez is out on Saturdays, out of town. So I'm doing both those games. And Tommy, Skip Bourbon's going to make an appearance in the bottom of the fifth. He's going to do the PA in the bottom of the fifth for the LSU.
Really, or you're going to do it? So did I just?
It's going to be me. It's going to be me, but Skip's doing it.
Skip in the fifth. Okay, we're going Skip in the fifth. I got it.
Skip in the fifth, bottom of the fifth. He's going to be doing the PA. Remember the last time he did the PA a couple of years ago? Brant Broussard had 3 at-bats in a row. So we're going to have to, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
So that'll be if you happen to be at the box in the 5th inning on Saturday, check out Skip Bourbon. He'll be doing the PA. Anything else? I'm trying to think. Anything else?
Don't forget Nichols football on CST tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, Southland Conference football. I'll be on the call on that. And tomorrow we'll talk a lot of LSU baseball. I got some stuff on LSU baseball. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Well, and here we go at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. We're into Lent for all the Catholics now. You and I talked about that yesterday. They got the fish, the crab meat, the salmon, the tuna kebabs. I can handle all of that stuff for you if you're doing the Lent thing. Crawfish is a question mark because of this cold snap in the weather, but you can always call Tremonti's or go to Facebook and Instagram, and they'll have the very latest for you. You got jambalaya for lunch today. That's a good thing to eat when it's cold outside. Mike and the staff, again, all the seafood needs, they got it covered for you. And, of course, the Chairman's Reserve beef and Buffalo Trace whiskey, the wine selection. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Facebook and Instagram will help you keep up with everything. I'll be back here next Monday, and we should have more information on the crawfish. And tomorrow I'll be at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen.
Yeah, tomorrow you'll be at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. Go see Tommy for lunch. But tomorrow we'll talk a lot of LSU baseball. I'll tell you my 2 pitchers that you don't know of, right? 2 newcomers to watch that are going to factor in, particularly early on in the season for LSU baseball. 2, and then I'll also give you a couple of freshmen or newcomer position players not named Dylan Cruz to watch and thoughts on them. What's that, TK?
I got some comments on Jaden Hill tomorrow.
So we'll talk a lot of LSU baseball. We'll have a Skip Bertman story for you. I'll have an opening day Skip Bertman story from the 1991 National Championship team. Involves Armando Rios and ESPN. We'll talk about that. That'll be a story I'll tell you tomorrow. And I do have a request for a Skip Bertman impersonation. So on the way out today, I'll just say, hey, guys, thanks so much for watching a little sports shorts presented by LaBerge. LaBerge. I don't know, the slots are a little tight over there right now. I need them to loosen up for Sandy and I. Tommy's over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Do they have any kosher meats over there, Tommy?
Yeah, we can take care of you, Skip. There's no question about it.
Great. Kosher meats at Tremonti's. Go see them. I'm Ronnie Rantz. Have a great one. We'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. right here, same station.